Welcome and welcome back to Thank God for Grace and Mercy. This series is Reading the Bible in a Year, and today is day 96. We're going to cover Judges 19 through 21 and finish the book of Judges today. Just for what's going on coming up in the future, tomorrow then we will cover Ruth. We'll do the whole book tomorrow, Ruth 1 through 4, and then we'll get right into Samuel. And I would say for the next 2 months, as we go through the Bible, going through 1 Samuel, we're going through some Chronicles, 1 Chronicles, and also it's going to be kind of a little harder to follow, because there's lots of days where a lot of Psalms are thrown in, or the day is all completely a bunch of different Psalms. For example, day 108 is Psalms 17, 35, 54, and 63. And then there's days where they'll read some Chronicles and some Psalms, or some Samuel and some Chronicles, or some Samuel and some Psalms. So anyway, that's what's all coming up. But again, today we're going to finish Judges. Also Sunday, so I'm going to, in the comments below, I'm going to link my personal church service. So just the church that I go to, their service. And just want to encourage you, if you don't have a church, you're more than welcome to come to mine. It's fantastic, but I recommend that you try to find one. You don't have to have a church, but a good church and a good church family really can help. Can help tremendously. It's helped me tremendously. If it wasn't for the church, I wouldn't be on fire like I am for God right now. So that all happened with me by going to church. So I will put that service down in the comments below. So without any further ado, let's say a quick prayer and we'll finish the book of Judges. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all your blessings, Lord. Thank you for giving me a good church to go to and letting me be able to share that online with all my viewers. Lord, help them find good churches if they don't have one to go to, so they can help them get closer to you. Lord, help us get closer to you through reading your word. So, Lord, we ask that you help us do that. Lord, open our eyes to see the message from today, open our ears to hear the message from today, and open our hearts to receive the message from today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Judges 19. The Levite. It was an error when there was no king in Israel. A Levite, living as a stranger in the backwoods hill country of Ephraim, got himself a concubine, a woman from Bethlehem in Judah. But she quarreled with him and left, returning to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah. She was there 4 months. Then her husband decided to go after her and try to win her back. He had a servant and a pair of donkeys with him. When he arrived at her father's house, the girl's father saw him, welcomed him, and made him feel at home. His father-in-law, the girl's father, pressed him to stay. He stayed with him 3 days. They feasted and drank and slept. On the 4th day, they got up at the crack of dawn and got ready to go. But the girl's father said to his son-in-law, "Strengthen yourself with a hearty breakfast, and then you can go." So they sat down and ate breakfast together. The girl's father said to the man, "Come now, be my guest. Stay the night. Make it a holiday." The man got up to go, but his father-in-law kept after him, so he ended up spending another night. On the 5th day, he was again up early, ready to go. The girl's father said, "You need some breakfast." They went back and forth, and the day slipped on as they ate and drank together. But the man and his concubine were finally ready to go. Then his father-in-law, the girl's father, said, "Look, the day's almost gone. Why not stay the night? There's very little daylight left. Stay another night and enjoy yourself. Tomorrow you can get an early start and set off for your own place." But this time the man wasn't willing to spend another night. He got things ready, left, and went as far as Gibeah, Jerusalem, with his pair of saddled donkeys, his concubine, and his servant. At Gibeah, though, the day was nearly gone. The servant said to his master, "It's late. Let's go into this Jebusite city and spend the night." But his master said, "We're not going to any city of foreigners. We'll go on to Gibeah." He directed his servant, "Keep going. Let's go on ahead. We'll spend the night either at Gibeah or Ramah." So they kept going. As they pressed on, the sun finally left them in the vicinity of Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. They left the road there to spend the night at Gibeah. The Levite went down and sat down in the town square, but no one invited them in to spend the night. Then, late in the evening, an old man came in from his day's work in the fields. He was from the hill country of Ephraim and lived temporarily in Gibeah, where all the local citizens were Benjaminites. When the old man looked up and saw the traveler in the town square, he said, "Where are you going, and where are you from?" The Levite said, "We're just passing through. We're coming from Bethlehem on our way to a remote spot in the hills of Ephraim. I come from there. I've just made a trip to Bethlehem in Judah, and I'm on my way back home, but no one has invited us in for the night. We wouldn't be any trouble. We have food and straw for the donkeys, and bread and wine for the woman. The young man and me, we don't need anything." The old man said, "It's going to be all right. I'll take care of you. You aren't going to spend the night in the town square." He took them home and fed the donkeys. They washed up and sat down to a good meal. They were relaxed and enjoying themselves when the men of the city, a gang of local hellraisers all, surrounded the house and started pounding on the door. They yelled for the owner of the house, the old man, "Bring out the man who came to your house. We want to have sex with him." He went out and told them, "No, brothers, don't be obscene. This man is my guest. Don't commit this outrage. Look, my virgin daughter and his concubine are here. I'll bring them out for you. Abuse them if you must, but don't do anything so senselessly vile to this man." But the men wouldn't listen to him. Finally, the Levite pushed his concubine out the door to them. They raped her repeatedly all night long. Just before dawn, they let her go. The woman came back and fell at the door of the house where her master was sleeping. When the sun rose, there she was. It was morning. Her master got up and opened the door to continue his journey. There she was, his concubine, crumpled in a heap at the door, her hands on the threshold. "Get up," he said. "Let's get going." There was no answer. He lifted her onto his donkey and set out for home. When he got home, he took a knife and dismembered his concubine, cut her into 12 pieces. He sent her, piece by piece, throughout the country of Israel, and he ordered the men he sent out, "Say to every man in Israel, has such a thing as this ever happened from the time of the Israelites came up from the land of Egypt until now? Think about it, talk it over, and do something." 20. Then all the people of Israel came out. The congregation met in the presence of God at Mizpah. They were all there, from Dan to Beersheba, as one person. The leaders of all the people, representing all the tribes of Israel, took their places in the gathering of God's people. There were 400 divisions of sword-wielding infantry. Meanwhile, the Benjaminites got wind that the Israelites were meeting at Mizpah. The people of Israel said, "Now tell us, how did this outrageous evil happen?" The Levite, the husband of the murdered woman, spoke. "My concubine and I came to spend the night at Gibeah, a Benjaminite town. That night the men of Gibeah came after me. They surrounded the house, intending to kill me. They gang-raped my concubine, and she died. So I took my concubine, cut up her body, and sent her piece by piece, 12 pieces, to every part of Israel's inheritance. This foul and outrageous crime was committed in Israel. So Israelites, make up your minds. Decide on some action." All the people were at once as one person on their feet. "None of us will go home. Not a single one of us will go to his house. Here's our plan for dealing with Gibeah. We'll march against it by drawing lots. We'll take 10 of every 100 men from all the tribes of Israel, 100 of every 1,000, and 1,000 of every 10,000 to carry food for the army. When the troops arrived at Gibeah, they will settle accounts for this outrageous and vile evil that was done in Israel." So all the men in Israel were gathered against the city, together, totally united. The Israelite tribe sent messengers throughout the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What's the meaning of this outrage that took place among you? Surrender the men right here and now. These hellraisers of Gibeah. We'll put them to death and burn the evil out of Israel." But they wouldn't do it. The Benjaminites refused to listen to their brothers, the people of Israel, Instead, they raised an army from all their cities and rallied at Gibeah to go to war against the people of Israel. In no time at all, they had recruited from their cities 26 divisions of sword-wielding infantry. From Gibeah, they got 700 hand-picked fighters, the best. There were another 700 super marksmen who were ambidextrous. They could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. The men of Israel, excluding Benjamin, mobilized 400 divisions of sword-wielding fighting men. They set out and went to Bethel to inquire of God. The people of Israel said, "Who of us shall be first to go into battle with the Benjaminites?" God said, "Judah goes first." The people of Israel got up the next morning and camped before Gibeah. The army of Israel marched out against Benjamin and took up their positions ready to attack Gibeah. But the Benjaminites poured out of Gibeah and devastated 22 Israeli divisions on the ground. The Israelites went back to the sanctuary and wept before God all evening. They again inquired of God, "Shall we again go into battle against the Benjaminites, our brothers?" God said, "Yes, attack." The army took heart. The men of Israel took up the positions they had deployed on the first day. On the second day, the Israelites again advanced against Benjamin. This time, as the Benjaminites came out of the city, on this second day, they devastated another 18 Israelite divisions, all swordsmen. All the people of Israel, the whole army, were back at Bethel, weeping, sitting there in the presence of God. That day they fasted until evening. They sacrificed whole burnt offerings and peace offerings before God, and they again inquired of God. The chest of God's covenant was there at the time, with Phinehas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, as the ministered priest. They asked, "Shall we again march into battle against the Benjaminites, our brothers, or should we call it quits?" And God said, "Attack. Tomorrow I'll give you victory." This time Israel placed men in ambush all around Gibeah. On the third day, when Israel set out, they took up the same positions before the Benjaminites as before. When the Benjaminites came out to meet the army, they moved out from the city. Benjaminites began to cut down some of the troops just as they had before. About 30 men fell in the field and on the roads to Bethel and Gibeah. The Benjaminites started bragging, "We're dropping them like flies, just as before." But the Israelites strategized, "Now let's retreat and pull them out of the city onto the main roads." So every Israelite moved farther out to Baal Tamar. At the same time, the Israelite ambush rushed from its place west of Gibeah. 10 crack divisions from all over Israel now arrived at Gibeah. Intense, bloody fighting. The Benjaminites had no idea that they were about to go down in defeat. God routed them before Israel. The Israelites decimated 25 divisions of Benjamin that day, 25,100 killed. They were all swordsmen. The Benjaminites saw that they were beaten. The men of Israel acted like they were retreating before Benjamin, knowing that they could depend on the ambush they had prepared for Gibeah. The ambush erupted and made quick work of Gibeah. The ambush spread out and massacred the city. The strategy for the main body of the ambush was that they send up a smoke signal from the city. Then the men of Israel would turn in battle. When that happened, Benjamin had killed about 30 Israelites and thought they were on the way to victory, yelling out, "They're on the run, just as in the first battle." But then the signal went up from the city, a huge column of smoke. When the Benjaminites looked back, there it was, the whole city going up in smoke. By the time the men of Israel had turned back on them, the men of Benjamin fell apart. They could see that they were trapped. Confronted by the Israelites, they tried to get away down the wilderness road. But by now the battle was everywhere. The men of Israel poured out of the towns, killing them, right and left, hot on their trail, picking them off, east of Gibeah. 18 divisions of Benjaminites were wiped out, all their best fighters. 5 divisions turned to escape to the wilderness, to Ramon Rock, but the Israelites caught and slaughtered them on the roads. Keeping the pressure on, the Israelites brought down 2 more divisions. The total of the Benjamites killed that day came to 25 divisions of infantry, their best swordsmen. 600 men got away. They made it to Ramon Rock in the wilderness and held out there for 4 months. The men of Israel came back and killed all the Benjaminites who were left, all the men and animals they found in every town, and then they torched the towns, sending them up in flames. 21. Wives. Back at Mizpah, the men of Israel had taken an oath. No man among us will give his daughter to a Benjaminite in marriage. Now, back in Bethel, the people sat in the presence of God until evening. They cried loudly. There was widespread lamentation. They said, "Why, O God, God of Israel, has this happened? Why do we find ourselves today missing one whole tribe from Israel?" Early the next morning, the people got busy and built an altar. They sacrificed whole burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then the Israelites said, "Who from all the tribes of Israel didn't show up as we gathered in the presence of God?" For they all had taken a sacred oath that anyone who had not gathered in the presence of God at Mizpah had to be put to death. But the people of Israel were feeling sorry for Benjamin, their brothers. They said, "Today, one tribe is cut off from Israel. How can we get wives for those who are left? We have sworn by God not to give any of our daughters to them in marriage." They said, "Which one of the tribes of Israel didn't gather before God at Mizpah?" It turned out that no one had come to the gathering from Jabesh Gilead. When they took a roll call of the people, not a single person from Jabesh Gilead was there. So the congregation sent 12 divisions of their top men there with the command, "Kill everyone of Jabesh Gilead, including women and children." These are your instructions. Every man and woman who has had sexual intercourse you must kill, but keep the virgins alive. And that's what they did. And they found 400 virgins among those who lived in Jabesh Gilead. They had never had sexual intercourse with a man, and they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the congregation sent word to the Benjaminites who were at the Rimmon rock and offered them peace, and the Benjamin came. They gave them the women they had left live at Jabesh Gilead, but even then there weren't enough for all the men. The people felt bad for Benjamin. God had left out Benjamin, the missing piece from the Israelite tribes. The elders of the congregation said, "How can we get wives for the rest of the men, since all the Benjaminite women have been killed? How can we keep the inheritance alive for the Benjaminite survivors? How can we prevent an entire tribe from extinction? We certainly can't give you our own daughters to them as wives." Remember, the Israelites had taken the oath, "Cursed is anyone who provides a wife to Benjamin." Then they said, "There is that festival of God held every year in Shiloh. It's north of Bethel, just east of the main road that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and a little south of Lebonah." So they told the Benjaminites, "Go and hide in the vineyards. Stay alert. When you see the Shiloh girls come out to dance the dances, run out of the vineyards, grab one of the Shiloh girls for your wife, and then hightail it back to the country of Benjamin. When their fathers or brothers come to lay charges against us, we'll tell them, 'We did them a favor, and after all, we didn't go to war and kill to get wives for men. And it wasn't as if you were in on it by giving consent. But if you keep this up, you will incur blame.'" And that's what the Benjaminites did. They carried off girls from the dance, wives enough for their number, got away, and went home to their inheritance. They rebuilt their towns and settled down. From there, the people of Israel dispersed, each man heading back to his own tribe and clan, each to his own plot of land. At that time, there was no king in Israel. People did whatever they felt like doing. And that is the end of Judges. So here's the recap. Day 96, Judges 19 through 21. Israel is living in total anarchy, which is beyond evident in today's reading. A Levite has a concubine, which is basically a household servant with fewer rights and less permanency than a wife, and whose main job is to sleep with the boss and have his kids. She wants to leave this arrangement, but he goes to win her back. He meets her dad, who invites him to stay with him, but by day 5, the Levite is ready to head home. On the way, his servant suggests spending the night in a Canaanite city, but the Levite wants to keep moving until they hit an Israelite area. They stop in Gibeah, among the tribe of Benjamin, and an old man urges them to stay at his place. The local leaders show up and demand to have sex with the Levite, but the old man offers his virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine instead. The locals don't like this offer, but the Levite saves himself by sending his concubine to them. God never endorses this. This is all the result of God's people turning away from him. The men rape her and beat her to death. The Levite doesn't even seem to be moved by her fate. It's heartbreaking and infuriating all at once. He takes her home, dismembers her, then sends pieces of her body throughout Israel, probably one piece to each tribe. Most scholars think he does this to prove that his story is true and that the Benjamites are guilty. In response, the men of fighting age from all the tribes except Benjamin gather. The phrase, from Dan to Beersheba, refers to all of Israel, because the new city Dan, just conquered, is in the far north, and Beersheba is in the far south. Even the 2.5 Transjordan tribes come. Nearly 500,000 men from 11 tribes gather to talk about what the Benjamites have done to the concubine. The Levite tells the story, conveniently leaving out the role he played, and asks what should happen in response to this abomination. They decide to confront the city of Gibeah. First, they try to reason with the locals, asking them to bring out the men responsible so they can enforce the death penalty. But the town won't give them up. They protect their wicked leaders and refuse to hold them accountable. As a result, the Benjaminites go to war against the rest of Israel. This is their first civil war. They fight for 3 days, and every day Israel asks God for guidance. He gives it, and they obey. They can't figure out why they're losing, since they're being obedient to God. But on days 1 and 2, God doesn't promise victory. He just tells them what to do. Obedience doesn't guarantee our desired outcome. Sometimes its purpose is to teach us faithfulness to God instead of our desires. On day 3, God says they'll win, and they defeat all the men of Benjamin except 600 who hide. Israel burns Gibeah, treating it like a Canaanite city. God never commands this, but they do it. While they're gathered, mourning and offering sacrifices to God, 2 things happen almost simultaneously. They're trying to figure out how to keep the tribe of Benjamin from disappearing altogether, and they realize there's a clan who didn't respond to the call to come fight, Gibeah-Gilead. Without consulting God, Israel puts together their most efficient plan. They send men to kill everyone in Gibeah-Gilead except female virgins, then bring back 400 virgins to give to the 600 surviving Benjaminites. But since there's still 200 women short, they hatch a plan for the Benjaminites to kidnap some women while they're dancing at a festival. This passage is descriptive, not prescriptive. This is man's wicked plan to fix the circumstances they're in because of sin. When we fail to consult God and lean on our own understanding, we almost always make a bigger mess. Today's God shot. There wasn't much joy in today's reading because there wasn't much God. The last line reminds us that everyone did what was right in his own eyes, and the book ends with their wickedness increasing. Where God isn't feared and honored, where people do as they please and follow their own desires, there may be a temporary solution or a fulfillment of desires, but there isn't a deep, lasting, sustaining joy, because that isn't found in following every longing of our hearts. It's found in Him, because He's where the joy is. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back reading again tomorrow.